My friends, have you ever noticed something strange about people? The more you give, the more they expect. The more you help, the more they demand. And the moment you stop giving, suddenly you're the bad one. Isn't it strange how kindness turns into obligation? But here's the truth. People don't change. When you give, they change. When you stop giving is one of the most beautiful acts a human being can do. It's the essence of compassion, of connection, of love. When we give, we feel alive. We feel useful. We feel like we're adding value to someone's life. And that's a powerful feeling. But what happens when our giving starts to hurt us instead of heal us? When giving becomes an expectation, not an expression of love. When it turns into something we must do, instead of something we want to do. That's when something sacred begins to die inside us. You see, my friends, giving is never the problem. The problem begins when we start giving from a place of emptiness. When we give just to maintain peace. When we give because we're afraid of losing someone. When we give even when our heart says, please not today. That's not love anymore. That's fear disguised as kindness. So many of us fall into this silent cycle. We give our time to people who never make time for us. We lend our ears to those who never care to listen. We show up for others even when no one shows up for us. And then, one day, we wake up feeling drained. Not because we gave too much, but because we gave to the wrong places for the wrong reasons. There's a difference between giving from abundance and giving from exhaustion. When you give from abundance, your heart feels full. You glow. You feel connected. But when you give from exhaustion, your heart feels heavy. You start questioning your worth, your value, your purpose. You start wondering, do they even care about me? Or do they just care about what I give them? That's when you realize giving is beautiful, but not when it costs your peace, not when it empties your joy, not when it silences your own needs. You cannot heal others by hurting yourself. You cannot light someone's path while burning out your own flame. Sometimes, the most loving thing you can do for others is to stop giving for a while, to pause, to refill your soul. Because if your well runs dry, no one can drink from it, not even you. So, my friends, give, but give wisely. Give when your heart is full, not when it's begging for rest. Give with love, not out of guilt. Give with freedom, not with fear. Because true generosity is not about how much you give. It's about how much peace remains inside you after you do. People often mistake kindness for weakness. And that, my friends, is one of the saddest misunderstandings of human nature. When you're gentle, they think you can't be strong. When you're patient, they think you can't say no. When you forgive easily, they assume you can be walked over again and again. But let me tell you this. Kindness is not weakness. Kindness is strength under control. It's the courage to stay calm in the face of chaos, the ability to respond with compassion when others choose cruelty, and the wisdom to give love when you could easily give anger. Yet, here's where the trap lies. When we continuously show kindness without boundaries, people stop seeing it as kindness. They start seeing it as duty. You help someone once and they're grateful. You help them twice and they start expecting. Help them thrice and suddenly it becomes your responsibility. And when you finally pause, they call you selfish. Isn't it strange? The same people who praised your heart will question it the moment you protect it. Why does this happen? Because people often see your kindness only as long as it serves their comfort. They love your giving, not always your goodness. They love your patience, but not your honesty. They love your availability, but not your boundaries. And the day you stand up for yourself, the day you draw a line, they say, you've changed. But the truth is, you didn't change. You just stopped letting your kindness be misused. You stopped being the doormat people wipe their shoes on. You decided to respect yourself, and that decision made others uncomfortable. In life, it's easy to mistake being nice for being wise. But there's a difference. Being nice means you say yes to everything, even when your soul screams no. Being wise means you choose carefully where to give your energy. It's not your job to make everyone happy. It's your job to be honest with yourself. When someone says, you've changed, what they often mean is, you've stopped serving my convenience. Let that sink in. You owe no one your peace, your constant availability, or your endless sacrifice. You can be kind and still say, I can't do this anymore. You can be compassionate and still walk away. You can care deeply and still choose yourself. Real kindness isn't about never saying no. It's about saying no with grace. It's about knowing that your time, your energy, and your love are sacred. Because if you give them to everyone without balance, soon you'll have nothing left for yourself. So don't be afraid to draw boundaries. Don't be afraid to say, this is enough. The world may not understand it at first, but one day they'll see that your no came from self-respect, not selfishness. Remember this, weak people can't be kind. Only strong hearts can. Because kindness requires restraint, compassion requires courage, and boundaries require self-worth. And when you master all three, your kindness becomes your power, not your weakness. The illusion of appreciation. This is one of the most painful lessons life teaches us. When you give from your heart, you expect at least a little gratitude in return. Not praise, not rewards, not even repayment. Just a simple thank you. Just a gesture that says, I see your effort. I value your presence. But over time, you start to notice something strange. The more you give, the less they appreciate. The more consistent your kindness, the more invisible it becomes. It starts small. You do something thoughtful for someone, and they smile, they say thank you. You do it again, and they nod. You do it a third time, and suddenly, they don't even notice. What was once kindness has now become normal. What was once effort has now become expectation. That's the illusion. The false belief that your giving will always be valued, when in reality, familiarity breeds blindness. When people receive something over and over again without pause, they stop seeing it as a gift. They see it as a given. It's not that they are bad or ungrateful, it's that human nature often forgets to value consistency. We tend to glorify the extraordinary and ignore the everyday blessings right in front of us. Think about it. When the sun rises every morning, we rarely stop and say, how beautiful. But the day it doesn't rise, the whole world panics. It's the same with people who keep giving light into others' lives. Their warmth becomes expected until they withdraw it, and when they finally do, everyone feels the absence. There's a saying, you never know the value of water until the well runs dry. The same is true for love, attention, care, and presence. People don't realize how much they relied on you until you stop showing up the way you used to. Then, suddenly, your worth becomes clear. But by then, you've already learned. Appreciation delayed is appreciation lost. When we give constantly, without balance, we unknowingly teach others how to take us for granted. We train them to see our giving as a habit, not a choice. And the moment we stop, their comfort gets shaken, not because we did something wrong, but because they built their peace on our sacrifice. So, what's the solution? Should we stop giving altogether? No, we should continue to give, but wisely. Give where there's gratitude, not entitlement. Give where your presence is valued, not used. Give where your heart feels full, not where it's constantly bleeding. Sometimes, the most powerful way to teach appreciation is through absence. When you step back, when you stop overextending, people start to see what you truly brought into their lives. They begin to realize how much your kindness meant. And those who truly care will come back, not to demand more, but to say, I see now how much you did for me. Remember this, my friends. Appreciation is not found in words, it's reflected in actions. Anyone can say thank you, but only the genuine ones will show it. Don't measure your worth by the noise of others' gratitude. Measure it by the peace you feel in your heart, knowing that your intentions were pure. Keep giving, but don't let the illusion of appreciation fool you. Some will never see your light until it stops shining. But don't dim yourself for that reason. Give because it's who you are, not because you need applause. And when you learn to give with detachment, with no need for recognition, that's when your kindness becomes divine boundaries. Such a simple word, yet for many of us, one of the hardest lessons to learn in life. Because we grow up being told that love means sacrifice, that caring for others means putting their needs before ours, that good people never say no. But over time, we start to realize if love means losing yourself, if kindness means silencing your own heart, then what kind of love is that? What kind of kindness leaves you empty? Boundaries are not walls, they are doors with locks. They don't shut people out, they simply teach others how to enter respectfully. A boundary says, I love you, but I also love myself. It's not rejection, it's redirection. It's not about being distant, it's about being balanced. Think about it. When you say yes to everyone else, how many times are you saying no to yourself? How many times do you cancel your own rest, your own peace, your own joy just to keep someone else comfortable? We often convince ourselves that this is noble, that it's what a good person does. But that's not goodness, my friends. That's self-neglect disguised as generosity. I once heard a story of a candle that burned so brightly it lit up every corner of the room. People loved that candle because it made their nights beautiful. But slowly, the candle melted. It kept burning because that's what it thought it was meant to do. And when the flame finally went out, everyone said, "Oh, it was such a good candle." But no one noticed that it died keeping everyone else warm. That's what happens when we live without boundaries. We keep giving our time, our energy, our love, until there's nothing left for ourselves. And then, when we finally burn out, the world moves on, searching for another source of light. So let me tell you, your flame is sacred. Protect it. Don't let it burn for people who stand too close and take too much. Setting a boundary doesn't make you unkind, it makes you honest. It's saying, this is where I end and where you begin. It's saying, I can be there for you, but not at the cost of losing myself. And let's be honest, the people who truly care about you will understand that. They might not at first, but with time, they'll see that boundaries keep love healthy. Because love without limits turns into dependence, and dependence eventually turns into resentment. Boundaries also test the intentions of those around you. The ones who were only attached to your giving will fade away when you stop giving. But the ones who are attached to you, to your presence, your soul, your spirit, they'll stay even when you say, no. That's how you separate who's real from who's convenient. And yes, setting boundaries will sometimes hurt. People will accuse you of changing. They'll say you're selfish, distant, or cold. But understand this, when you begin to value your peace, you will automatically disturb those who relied on your chaos. When you stop overextending, those who fed off your energy will feel the loss, and they'll resist it. But hold your ground, because peace is never won by pleasing everyone. It's earned by protecting your space. Boundaries are acts of self-respect, and self-respect is the foundation of all healthy love. When you respect yourself enough to say, "This is enough," you teach the world how to treat you. You stop chasing love and start attracting respect. You stop apologizing for your needs and start honoring your worth. So, my friends, don't be afraid to draw the line. You don't owe everyone your constant presence, your constant energy, or your constant yes. Say yes when your soul feels it. Say no when your peace requires it. The ones who love you will understand. The ones who don't were never meant to stay. Remember, the same way a garden grows beautifully when it's fenced, your soul also blooms when it's protected. Boundaries aren't barriers to love, they are the bridges that keep it pure. When you set them with love, they don't push people away, they bring the right people closer. When you stop giving, my friends, something magical and sometimes heartbreaking begins to happen. The masks start to fall off, the truth starts to surface. The same people who smiled at you every day suddenly stop calling. The same ones who used to praise your kindness now whisper, "You've changed." The ones who always came to you for help vanish when you need theirs. And you're left wondering, was it really love? Or was it just convenience? You see, as long as you keep giving your time, your attention, your energy, your love, people stay. They stay because they're being fed. They stay because you're the light that keeps their world bright. But the moment you dim that light, even just a little, you see who was there for the glow and who was there for you. And that's the most painful yet powerful realization in life. People don't truly change when you give, they change when you stop. Because giving hides the truth. Your giving covers their intentions. It hides their expectations under a blanket of politeness and affection. But when you stop giving, when you finally say, "I need to rest," the truth walks in unapologetically. When you stop giving, you will notice who reaches out just to check if you're okay, and who reaches out only to ask, "Why haven't you done what you used to?" You'll see who loved your soul and who loved your service. You'll learn who stayed because of your heart and who stayed because of your help. It hurts, yes, it hurts deeply, because for years you might have believed your relationships were built on genuine love. But when your generosity fades, some connections fade too. And that's when you realize they were never rooted in mutual care. They were built on your constant supply of energy, attention, and effort. But don't let this truth make you bitter. Let it make you wiser. Let it teach you discernment. Because sometimes life removes people when you stop giving, not to punish you, but to protect you. It's like a test from the universe saying, "Know that you're not pouring endlessly. Let's see who remains." And those who remain, those are your people. Those are the ones who see you, not your usefulness. It's easy to love someone when they are always available, always supportive, always giving. But real love, real friendship, real loyalty, it shows up when you have nothing left to give, when you're quiet, when you're tired, when you're not shining but just surviving. That's when you see who truly values your soul. When you stop giving, you'll also feel something shift inside you. At first, it feels empty because you were so used to overextending yourself, to filling everyone else's cup. But slowly, that emptiness turns into peace. You begin to hear your own voice again. You begin to feel your own heartbeats, not drowned out by everyone else's noise. You start to realize how much of yourself you lost in the process of keeping others comfortable. This moment, this pause, it's sacred. Because now you can choose again. You can choose who deserves your energy. You can choose to give not from guilt, but from love. You can choose to give not because they expect it, but because it feels right. And here's something profound. When you stop giving to the wrong people, you make space for the right ones. When you stop pouring into those who only take, you create room for those who will pour back into you. Life doesn't leave you empty, it clears the space so you can be filled correctly. So, when people change after you stop giving, don't chase them. Don't beg them to stay. Don't question your worth. Just observe, because their departure is not your loss, it's your clarity. Their silence is not rejection, it's revelation. And their absence, it's just the truth finally stepping out from behind the curtain. One day, you'll look back and realize that the moment you stopped giving endlessly was the moment you started living authentically. You'll see that peace doesn't come from pleasing everyone. It comes from finally listening to your own heart. Remember this, the right people don't love you for what you give, they love you for who you are. Even when you have nothing to offer. They don't disappear when your hands are empty, because their hearts were never there for your gifts. They were there for your soul. So let them change. Let them leave. Let them reveal who they truly are. Because when you stop giving to everyone, you start giving something far greater. You start giving yourself the freedom to be real self. Love, a word that sounds so simple, yet for many of us, it feels selfish, doesn't it? We've been taught that loving others is noble, that putting others first is virtuous, and that thinking of ourselves makes us self-centered. But my friends, let me tell you a truth that can change your life. Self-love is not selfish. It is the foundation of every healthy act of kindness, every real connection, every piece of genuine happiness you will ever know. Imagine this, a person walking around every day, giving water to everyone else's plants, but never watering their own. At first, they feel proud, they feel useful, they feel needed. But one day, they return home and realize their own plant, the one that sustains their oxygen, their peace, their joy, has dried up. That is what happens to us when we give endlessly to others without giving to ourselves. You can't pour from an empty cup, my friends. You can't heal others when your own heart is broken. You can't lift others when you're sinking inside. Yet so many of us spend years doing just that, trying to be the hero in everyone else's story, while quietly drowning in our own. We forget that even the sun rests every night. Even the ocean pulls back to refill. Even nature knows that giving endlessly without restoration leads to destruction. Self-love is not about ego, it's about energy. It's about balance. It's about understanding that your needs, your peace, your happiness matter too. Because when you neglect yourself in the name of helping others, you don't become a savior, you become a shadow. You give everything away until one day you wake up not knowing who you are anymore. Let me tell you something. Loving yourself doesn't mean you stop caring for others. It means you start caring for yourself too. It means you treat yourself with the same kindness patience, and forgiveness that you so easily give to everyone else. It means when you make a mistake, you don't tear yourself down. You say, "It's okay, I'm learning." It means when life feels heavy, you don't just keep pushing through. You stop, you breathe, you rest. True self-love is quiet. It's not loud or boastful. It's in the small decisions you make every day. Choosing peace over chaos. Saying no when your heart feels tired. Eating when you're hungry. Sleeping when you're exhausted. Stepping away from what drains your spirit and surrounding yourself with what nourishes it. When you practice self-love, something powerful happens. You start giving differently. You no longer give out of guilt or obligation. You give because your heart is overflowing. You give because you want to, not because you have to. And that's the most beautiful form of giving. The kind that comes from fullness, not emptiness. But here's the challenge. The moment you begin to love yourself, some people won't like it. They'll say you've changed. They'll call you selfish. They'll miss the version of you that sacrificed everything to keep them happy. But that's okay, because your healing will always be uncomfortable for those who benefited from your brokenness. Your peace will always disturb those who thrived on your chaos. You see, when you start prioritizing yourself, you're not just healing your own heart, you're teaching others how to love you. You're teaching them that your kindness is not to be abused, that your time is precious, and that your energy is sacred. You stop begging for respect and start radiating it. You stop chasing love and start attracting it naturally. Because when you love yourself deeply, you raise your frequency, and people who can't match that either rise with you or fall away. Self-love also teaches you forgiveness, not just for others, but for yourself. You learn to forgive yourself for the times you stayed too long, gave too much, ignored your intuition, or settled for less. You stop carrying shame for your past because you realize every mistake was a lesson, not a life sentence. And perhaps most importantly, self-love gives you clarity. You begin to see who deserves your energy and who drains it. You start recognizing the difference between connection and dependency, between care and control. You no longer tolerate relationships that break your spirit because you finally understand love should feel like peace, not pain. So, my dear friends, take care of yourself. Speak kindly to yourself. Protect your energy. Feed your soul. Because the world doesn't need more people who are burned out from giving. It needs people who are alive, joyful, and whole. When you love yourself, you don't stop giving. You just start giving better. You give from a place of power, not depletion. From wholeness, not wounds. From joy, not pressure. And that, my friends, is the most divine form of giving there is. Because when your heart is full of love for yourself, everything you give to others becomes pure, peaceful, and lasting. So no, self-love is not selfish. It's sacred. It's survival. It's the oxygen mask you put on yourself before helping anyone else breathe. Don't be afraid to disappoint people. Yes, you heard that right. Don't be afraid to let someone down, to say no, to walk away, to protect your peace. Because the truth is no matter what you do, someone will always be disappointed. You cannot please everyone, and the more you try, the further you drift from yourself. My friends, the greatest prison in this world is living for other people's approval. For years, many of us are trained to be people pleasers. As children, we're told, be nice, don't upset anyone, make everyone happy. And while that sounds innocent, it teaches us a dangerous pattern to constantly abandon ourselves just to keep the peace. We learn to smile when we're hurt. We learn to agree when we disagree. We learn to say yes when every part of our soul is screaming no. And slowly, piece by piece, we lose the ability to recognize what we truly want. You see, when you live your life trying to please everyone, you become a reflection of their expectations, not your truth. You wear masks to fit in. You play roles to be accepted. You bend until you break. And even then, someone will still complain that you didn't bend far enough. Think about it. Have you ever said yes to someone just to avoid an argument, only to end up resenting them and yourself later? That's what people pleasing does. It gives temporary peace on the outside, but permanent chaos on the inside, because you can silence others' disappointment, but you can't silence your own soul. Here's the reality. When you start setting boundaries, when you start choosing your peace, when you start saying no, people will react. They'll call you selfish. They'll say you've changed. But that's only because your obedience once served their comfort. Your compliance once kept them in control. And when you stop giving them what they want, they interpret it as betrayal. But it's not betrayal, it's liberation. You are not responsible for managing everyone's emotions. You are not the caretaker of everyone's happiness. You are not here to make everyone comfortable with your decisions. You are here to live truthfully, and sometimes truth disappoints. But here's the beautiful paradox. The more you accept that disappointment is inevitable, the freer you become. You stop overthinking every choice. You stop apologizing for existing. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into spaces that were never built for your full size. Disappointing people doesn't make you unkind. It makes you authentic. It means you value honesty over pretending. It means you're no longer living to be liked. You're living to be real. Because there's no peace in constantly editing yourself to make others comfortable. There's no joy in living a life that impresses everyone but fulfills no one, especially not you. The truth is, people will talk whether you fail or succeed, whether you say yes or no, whether you stay or go. So why waste your precious life trying to win a game that has no finish line? You can give your best, love deeply, and still not meet everyone's expectations. And that's okay. The people who truly love you, the ones who see your heart, will not leave because you said no. They won't abandon you because you chose rest over availability or peace over drama. They'll understand that sometimes saying no is the most honest way to say, I love you. Because when you take care of yourself, you show up for others with more patience, more clarity, and more sincerity. And yes, choosing yourself will upset some people, especially those who were comfortable with your lack of boundaries. They'll guilt trip you, make you feel responsible for their emotions, and use words like, you've changed. But my dear friends, change is not a crime. Growth is not betrayal. Maturity means realizing that your peace is more important than other people's approval. The day you stop fearing disappointment, something inside you clicks. You start walking taller. You start saying what you mean. You start feeling lighter because the weight of pretending falls off your shoulders. You realize that peace doesn't come from everyone liking you. It comes from you liking yourself. And here's the truth. Some of the greatest people in history were misunderstood, criticized, even hated, but they stayed true to their principles. They stood firm in their values. Because they understood if you live to please everyone, you'll end up pleasing no one, not even yourself. So don't be afraid to disappoint. Be afraid to live a life that's not yours. Be afraid of silencing your truth. Be afraid of wasting years trying to be what others want instead of who you truly are. Because the right people, the ones who love you for your soul, not your service, they will never leave because you honored your boundaries. They will respect your honesty. They will admire your courage. And most importantly, they will love you not for what you do for them, but for who you are when you're at peace. So say no when your heart says no. Take a break when your spirit feels tired. Walk away from what drains your light. You will disappoint some, yes, but you will finally stop disappointing yourself. And that, my friends, is what true freedom feels like.